Khi có sông móc khi có cơn để sông nổi
một cây nó biết được
con thằng ông nào từ
dùng ra luôn lo răng trò
mi xuôi mi ra đây đi
ăn lâu lại lâu khi phan tung tin na cao lông la vinh tu bao biết yêu mi hết la vinh răng trò bắt chân từ par la tiêu đừng la khi không có biết được cần dấu về lại mùa đông đã khơi qua đi vào ra đằng ngõ tư bằng bàn quân kim na dông anh par na răng khi theo lệ đi lên dông lâu lắm na
khi có sông móc khi có cơn để sông nổi
một cây nó biết được
con thằng ông nào từ
dùng ra luôn lo răng trò
mi xuôi mi ra đây đi
ăn lâu lại lâu tuy ăn pha đi lắm van cây pha tu mi cho mi pha đi qua cho ba ta đi bằng par con kịp lên rim mũi thì giang lên con lên chiều tê la khi răng hoa mưa lớn đã khơi qua đi ra ra đằng ngõ tư bằng par con kịp na dông anh par na răng khi theo lệ đi lên dông lâu lắm na
khi có sông móc khi có cơn để sông nổi
một cây nó biết được
con thằng ông nào từ
dùng ra luôn lo răng trò
mi xuôi mi ra đây đi
anh dâu lại lâu kaca aliang anak ka ara deng cham kwa ra har mi teu do he amma maya him te in kan ni pum lai amma tu kwa ra har kham tu asi kaca aliang anak tu ara deng cham kwa ra har mi teu do he amma maya him te in kan ni pum lai amma tu kwa ra har kham tu asi Rado nakadi in kan rakam delay luchin ka kan chin delay kan ni chin lai ra te tu kan si cha kham chiu mi na he hoi kom kan si lai cha aliang ngam nak tu arwa ra deng cham kwa ra har mi cheu do he amma maya him te in kan ni pum lai amma tu kwa ra har kham tu asi setam ni sha oka ara chan lai lo nangam te in kan la Boy Jesu Christi akan audi chang lai kwa ra har mi la chu kan sa te lai kaca aliang anak tu ra deng cham kwa ra har mi teu do he amma maya him te in kan ni pum lai amma tu kwa ra har kham tu asi lan ga pi ko pai kalung khai ro ki ma lom ter tu hom man ka tong lo ban chung lam le ya boy pa o ka thei kau na bu le do nam ni a then học các thiên biếc và thiên lung dung khó lung na ba đôn na kinh na phật tế tròn ca lung oi lom tròn a theo mi chu rô công na kho đô na kinh na thiên tròn ngân khổ lâu răng con bay lên mong nghi lâm con cô liao hồng ngân ca tông lâu với ba đi a ca áo xin ca lom tròn câu nam vu lê tôn nam đi a thêm Hãy học các thiên biếc và thiên lung dung khó lung na ba đôn na kinh na phật tế tròn ca lung oi lom tròn a theo mi chu rô công na kho đôn na kinh na thiên tròn đô đô thiên lung he có bầu trăng câu lời đêm mười lăm dung na kinh na chuan liao tê karao cao ni tu pan mal lâu câu nam vu lê đón nam đi a thêm
Zanina lai lagrai thak pek ran satu te hilai ram baptist zai pol te ania Akashvani Lunglei changa puan chhuani dar kwa le minute som panga hian spotlight program deli mi kan la chhuangang
Spotlight.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring a discussion on India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. The participants are Anil Wadhwa, former ambassador, and Niharika Bhuwania, anchor.
Good evening and welcome to today's episode of Spotlight. Today indeed marks a major economic and strategic milestone in India's engagement with the Indo-Pacific region, with the conclusion of a comprehensive, balanced and forward-looking free trade agreement with New Zealand. Before we dive into it deeper, let's have a report by our correspondent.
India has signed a number of free trade agreements. Today, India and New Zealand announced a free trade agreement. This year, the government has signed 3 trade agreements with the UK, Oman and New Zealand. There are various types of trade agreements. The preferential trade agreements or PTAs are the ones which offer selective tariff cuts only on specific goods, which is the exact opposite of the FTA, which directly eliminates or reduces tariffs on most goods. The Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or the CEPA, on the other hand, promotes broader international ties by expanding beyond just free trades of goods and incorporates services, investment, intellectual property, and regulatory cooperation. This is a report by Meghna Bose from Akashvani.
And to discuss this further, we have former Ambassador Mr. Anil Wadhwa with us. Good evening, Mr. Wadhwa. Thank you so much for joining us on Spotlight today.
Good evening. It's my pleasure.
I would like to know, why is this FTA being called as one of India's fastest concluded FTA? And second, what are some points worth noting about this trade agreement, and how does it stand to benefit the common people?
India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, which was concluded today after some very intensive negotiations. I think there were just 4 intensive rounds, although these negotiations started as many as 11 years ago. And over the past 17 months or so, we've seen a conclusion of this agreement. Actually, it marks a watershed moment in bilateral economic relations between India and New Zealand. And it is one of the fastest negotiated FTAs that India has concluded with a developed economy. And that reflects not only very strong trade ambitions, but also broader strategic alignments in a dynamic global landscape. Actually, if you look at the agreement at its core, it seeks to not only strengthen bilateral trade and expand our market access, but also enhance investment flows and deepen cooperation across goods, services, agriculture, and most importantly, people-to-people mobility. How does it affect, how is it of benefit to the people? First of all, in goods and trade liberalization, where one of the most decisive elements of this FTA is the zero duty market access that India will enjoy for 100% of its exports to New Zealand once the agreement is operational. And this means no customs duty on all Indian exported products, which is a boon particularly for labor-intensive value-added sectors such as textiles, leather, footwear, our engineering goods, marine products, gems and jewelry, handicrafts, automobiles, electronics, pharmaceuticals. For New Zealand, while not all products become duty-free immediately, tariffs on about 95% of its exports to India will be removed or significantly reduced over time. Substantial share of these, that includes forestry products, wool, coal, iron, steel, horticultural product, and seafood, a lot of seafood, not all seafood. They will see tariff elimination from day one or phased reduction within a decade. So this degree of tariff liberalization is amongst the highest that New Zealand has secured in any FTA. Most importantly, I would like to point out that India has safeguarded certain sensitive domestic sectors, meaning some agriculture and dairy imports, and that includes things like milk, cheese, edible oils, sugar, spices, and coffee. They are not fully covered under market access commitments, and these exclusions actually aim to protect Indian farmers and micro, small, and medium enterprises from sudden market disruptions. Second aspect is the services and mobility aspect, where this agreement goes beyond goods and offers significant market access and services, because India has secured provisions covering over 118 service sectors. That includes IT and IT-enabled services, also some professional services, finance, education, tourism, and construction. So this offers Indian companies expanded opportunities in a high-value segment of the global economy. A standout provision is the creation of temporary employment entry visas, which allows up to 5,000 Indian professionals at any time to work in New Zealand for up to 3 years, which is, I think, a major gain for Indian talent. There's also a working holiday visa scheme that enables mobility for young Indians. One important feature is the innovative aspect of this pact, that is the investment destination, because New Zealand is pledged to facilitate up to $20 billion in investments into India over 15 years. And that includes areas like manufacturing, infrastructure services, innovation and job creation, all aligning with India's Make in India and broader economic development goals. While agriculture is partially protected, the agreement includes some cooperative frameworks such as agri-technology action plans and centers of excellence to enhance productivity and quality, especially for fruits like apples and kiwi fruit and honey. These initiatives reflect an emphasis on technology transfer and capacity building within agricultural value chains.
Well, I think that gives us quite an overview of what this trade agreement has been all about. And before we get down to discussing each of these points comprehensively, let's very briefly talk about the fact that this is actually the third trade agreement in the last 6 months. So there was one with Oman recently, and there was also one FTA with UK. Just very briefly, why does the world want to work with India so closely on the economic front, and how does a country that works with India on the economic front stand to benefit?
It's very important for the world to work with India because India obviously is a very large market, and market access in India means that the domestic industries of these countries would have an avenue to expand. And also there are a lot of other opportunities which arise because if you work with India, then obviously you combine that with investments and you also find innovative ways of being in the market. And for many of these countries, that is an added plus. Also, there's a question of trust which comes in if you have a basic FTA in place. You mentioned about UK and Oman. These agreements are all part of India's broader strategy today to diversify not only our export markets because there are global tariff pressures now. India is not an exception. And, when we had the UK-India FTA signed, that was done to boost our annual trade significantly, but also, there were some very deep tariff cuts across a wide range of goods. So those are beneficial for both economies. Now, if you compare this agreement with the India-UK agreement, I think this agreement is remarkable for its zero duty on all Indian exports and substantial service and mobility provisions despite the relatively smaller scale of current trade that we have. So I think the focus has been on trying to build complementary economic linkage rather than simply lowering of tariffs. And also, there is a formal investment commitment by New Zealand, which is less common in traditional FTAs. The only other FTA we had was with the EFTA countries, which had a similar kind of provision. But coming from New Zealand, I think this is quite significant.
On that note, let's quickly listen to what Union Minister Piyush Goyal has said on the matter.
Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, this is the 7th free trade agreement. All of them with developed economies with significantly larger per capita incomes than India, demonstrating that we are expanding trade relations rapidly with countries who complement the Indian economy rather than compete with India. The FTA turns New Zealand ties from friendly to formidable, especially for trade, innovation and youth-driven growth. This is a free trade agreement with New Zealand which is both comprehensive and forward-looking.
This elimination of tariffs on 100% of tariff lines is one factor which spells good news for every sector in the Indian economy. But do you think any sectors in particular, in specific, stand to benefit from this provision?
The sectors which actually will benefit a lot are the labor-intensive sectors in particular, because here what we will see is that, things like our textiles, for instance, or leather goods, or gems and jewelry, engineering goods, all these get an added avenue for exports. Now, if you look at what is happening in the context of the United States, where India has not been able to export at least goods worth about $42 billion into the US market because of the steep tariffs that Indian exporters face there. All in all, about 50% of tariffs which have been imposed, 25% was imposed earlier, and 25% for buying Russian oil. That has sort of spurred these industries or these sectors to find alternative markets. And obviously, when you find FTAs like this, then there's a natural corollary that the exports would be diversified and go into these kind of markets which are now offering zero duty to Indian goods. So India is consciously trying to diversify its destination markets, and that I think has worked quite well so far. But nonetheless, I think the direction for India is quite clear, because the government wants to give avenues for its labor-intensive exports to find their way into different markets around the world.
It's important to mention that Indian professions, which were, before, they were not usually covered in FTAs. But with this one, people such as Ayush practitioners or yoga instructors, Indian chefs, they also become a part of this arrangement in a greater way, right?
Yes, of course. And it's good that these sectors have been opened up in other FTAs before this. So that sets a precedent. it started off with Australia first, and thereafter we found a similar provision has come into the UK, SECA as well. And so India has been trying to open up these sectors and give them a chance also to make sure that they're able to export their wares abroad, and thereby creating linkages, which means development of these sectors in the wellness sector, for example, in India, which will also start flourishing. And once you have that, then obviously it has a ripple effect on sectors like tourism.
Very well, Ambassador Wadhwa. So, as we look at winding up the conversation now, I'd just like to know your views on the $20 billion investment that New Zealand has committed to make into India over the next 15 years. How is that going to support the Make in India vision, and which sectors are we looking at to invest in the most?
So New Zealand has pledged to facilitate up to $20 billion in investments into India over 15 years. And the areas that were discussed during the negotiations, I believe, were manufacturing, particularly with reference to the PLI schemes which exist in the Indian economy, in infrastructure, in services, in innovation and job creation. And all these align with India's Make in India vision and broader development goals. Investment protection and mechanisms have also been discussed, which are all designed to foster a long-term business confidence, because if you have investments taking off between our economies, then obviously the linkages with the New Zealand economy will become very strong going forward.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Spotlight. I think we now have a much better understanding of this new FTA.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. The participants were Anil Wadhwa, former ambassador, and Niharika Bhuwania, anchor. The program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on a YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.
Hi Akashvani Lunglei ni sang pui pui le Jomar Digital Ainon la thlan hun kan lo thleng le ta a zanin Ainon hun man pui tu te sibai kan buk ma sa cheu ni zanin Ainon hun ai hian Christmas la leng long le leng zem la te kan shu tanga phasapera chuan signi eng ti la rin ti ki khyang te in ron sanga hi la ron thang tu te chu mamoi runglei zotlang mi in hun moi zotlang lunglei le manal somi sailo char mare chu lunglei ten ngun takin longai kha se ti in ron thangani Bikong te website zo ami in hela hi lorem pui veng noi le rubil shat pui Bethlehem veng thlang aizol te longai thla ka tan ron thlanga lunglei dai ta kal pui chin te zong zong tar mesa ka fam veng lunglei mi than achian te tuang le zoli bel the te longai thla
Sing siri sarti an boy mange Fir bel ko bel boy nahi Unzarole parvin hya Siam tu fa kin zia anta Shin mi le yan don tian ve
zanin ainon huna kan hlangai thlak ma sak ber signi eng ti laron satu khalarin diki khiang te ani adot lea chuan robadal eng liaran kumpui chu la lo ve chang hian ti laron sa anga helaron thlang tu te chu ma moi lungle zo tlang ami in siro cham le ni zo tlang lunglei le pilian hun ram zo tlang lunglei mi ten hun takin lawai thla se ti naron thlang ani bikung te website zo mi ne zanin Akashvani Aizawl primary channel duty announcer dal eng zori lawai thlakatan liaw lew helai ron thlang boka te i champhai beng thangami Christmas se bai book nan ti in ms se lama min helai ron thlang boka ni Akashvani lunglei thok tu ti zongjong lawai thlakatan du ilunglei bazar venga min ron thlanga tin vi ma chong te elami in puang tu tan ti na ron thlang boka tin zir anu nin RJ Pinky ral te tan diaw lew ron thlang boka ni achan te ma wal pui le ma te zo khothar om te lawai thlakatan mal som tonga jing pui mian ma amin helai ron thanga tin rin kimiru lam le ma hlimilung nei veng hlun te Christmas se bai buk nan ti in ropoi khozol veng tharamin hela hi heron thangani robadal eng liana kumpui su lo ve chang hian
về lẽ lu xuân pha té chân to khi đón về tề tu tiền mua liam ngay nan tra tề parang an long lu he ni ro pui lo theng ya chu kim darang lên lại ngai zualin trapin nuai thi puyan nu nghe yang o moi em he ni lo mong hun tôi te hi kan van nei em lom ni kan tong le ta lung rua ta kin ning sai vo dong o ilung ngai na nang di pro karla leng rual du song te indam laem ni le Christmas ni lomon alo eng le chung pa thianin dam ten veng tum zel ro se tam ta kin o kan in to let ma zong limin sayang chemut tui mang tra o moi em he ni lo mong hum toi te hi kan fa nei em lom ni kan tong le ta lung rua ta kin ning sai vo dong o ilung ngai na chu kwa nang ti pro chung kwa nu leng in bin hual se lo min isayang a chen tin lai na ko dam ro se kan na ni lo mong ta chua lo theng le ta i purit zong zong te chu kal san la lim la hun tra i nei chu hianin o moi em he ni lo mong hun toi te hi kan va nei em lom ni kan tong le ta lung rua ta kin ning sai vo dong o ilung ngai na chu kwa nang ti pro
kan hlangai thlak le tak kha kumpui su la lo ve chang hian ti hlani aran satu kha robadal eng liana hani adot le chuan roliana ral te in alo her chuak don ta ti laran sa anga he laran thlang tu te chu vikong te website zo ami in angai em ai theli eflal ompui lunglon lunglei mi tan ron thlanga tin ma moi lunglei zotlanga mi inrat pui college venga mi tan liaw liaw tin ron thlang bokani kima lunglon phur venga mi tan rem mona lunglon munlui venga mi ni lai ron thlanga a chante Akashvani Lunglei longai thawe chin tu te zong song tan Christina azuni ron thlang bokani boya oma endi le lom sang zela te Christmas by book na jula sai lo lunglei luang mwala mi ni lai ron thlang boka tena chante te bazar ben rin kimi mai de Christi te longai thlakatan seni lunglei veng lai min ron thlang bokani alo her chuak don ta rolena ralte kan hlangai thlak le tak alo her chhuak don ta ti thlaran satu kha ro le na ral ti ani tuna chuan fakna huni lo hmang lokang sang sangin pui second hand door veng lai lunglei a hian no panga tanga kum upalam thleng hak tur du thu sama tam than tur oma ni chale mi pathum no tam tak an kola no panglom tur software le thlasika no pang hak chi oma pot le jacket du thu sama tam en tur ombo denim jacket eng season a po hak the an kol che em boka sang sangin pui second hand door te hian in rinitin sale ne china a floor chunglama mi pa section omin jeans cargo pants coat denim jacket kamis t-shirt ngong nei le adang chi sang thlan tur omboke zingdar ko chenga zandar som thleng kan khong boke tin Instagram lama sang pui second hand door khalo follow vek ula in thom thodu thu sa ma order thei ringe sang pui second hand door venglai near SP office phone number 9485056388 adot lekan hlangai thak le tur hi kan khwa ti hlare beka la lom sangi sakha hania ngai thlat sak vel to mai ra thlang tu te kan puang le photange he la hi ma moi rung le zo tlang mi in silong ngai kimite du pa zo tlang lunglei le mun moi zo tlang lunglei te langai thlaka tan ron thlanga bikong te website zo amile ro chara chak chuak dur tlang le Elizabeth mal som tlang ibung kon ai zo limite tan liaw liaw ron thlang bokani tin he la hi ziri a nunin hun sang sanga chanti zong langai thlaka tan ron thlanga sangte a hian moi ti ema wangin ron thlang boka vi moya bima ma chong te elami in lom chemical ni in ngun takin lawai tha se ti in haron thlang bokani tin he lai hi mesaka lunglei farm vega mi in hun sang sanga chanti zong tan ron thlang boka nu te ira se vega mi tan pu esai lo bong kon ai zo lamin ron thanga tin chanti ai za ka le ven mualian pui te langai thlaka tan liaw liaw RDS azai kon min ron thlang bokani tin he lai hi zin in halongai thatu zong te ai non hun min man pui tu zong te tan liaw liaw kan ron than sak ve bok ti ang cheu kan khwa Rebecca la lom sangi kan langai thak le tak kan khwa ti laron satu kha rebe kalan lom sangi hani adot le chuan itel lova Christmas kan ti ve thonga nga Henry lalmal soman he lai hi aron sa anga inaron thang tu te chu ma moi lung le zo tlang mi in Angela ro puite nu param zo tlang lung le le siro chan yani zo tlang lung le mi te longai thaka tan liaw liaw he lai ron thanga bigong te website zo amin zanin Akashvani Aizawl FM zo audio ti te English RJ Sparkle si zo rin kimele mi zo RJ RK la du kimete tan liaw liaw he lai ron thanga ni Jesse le char luya chan te zong zong tan arle na char luya min he lai ron thanga pui lung chema mi tan em san tia zo pui min ron thanga tin veni chong te le mi tan liaw liaw he lai hi fel fel char luya min ron thanga ni pui lung chema mi tan ma pui ram thun Aizawl min ron thanga zong ki ma parvatu mi la ngai thlaga tan liaw liaw ti in zong meng nge te parvatu min he lai ron thanga tin te ima mi te mi tan RDS sai ko na min ron thang bokani Henry Dalmal Soma itel lova Christmas
vangin le na tlang dang si a sun khurda san kwa rei lua e me fo vang ni ko lan alo her chua ka kwa chuan in ka hoi vela silo ariang lung le di zual mai thone itelova Christmas ka mangpur hi kei ahar luma leng em ne ran vangi luai khi kan nu le tree hey ero ka di phong rik la ka ma ngai reng che asi lan che ma ngai na Christmas lo ten hia dan kwanu man som na din se lange I chuan na mwala trangin rim na lal chu fak la sa rồi môi lâu lom la căn chân tốt khoan ruột lâu đi nên lâu va Christmas cầm măng bur hi thấy ở hai lunga lên em mày ran in tloma vanau thar pian chan ya nang mai vangi luai khi kan nu le tree hey ero ka di phong ring la ka ma ngai reng lam lama se leng dang chai ka tum lo rin kom na kan tiam kwan leng hing join nang pon kan tiam ya thu di vom ren la hallo ten sul alo ve anga ton le ni som a la mang tur hi thei a har lunga leng eme ran in tloma va nau thar pian jan ya nang ai wangi luai khi kan nu le tri hey ero ka di vong rik la ka ma ngai ren che asin ka ma ngai ren che asin
kan hlangai thlang le ta kha itel lova Christmas ti hlan yaran satuk Henry mal so mani tuna chuan fakna huni lo mang le lokang Geomart Lunglei venglai hian in chung khor mamo fridge le washing machine smartphone Android atanga iOS thlengin irin phak bak tlomin leitur ome tanin chuan chan po customer tin min lo pandon zel hiani chumai ba ka home appliances lama Lunglei a chuan achang thung ber kan ni a tin EMI interest on lovin kan pe thei boke Menon bel chang ve ta che zingdar ko changa thlaidar nga le chen bethleng pan thereng kan ni ZNZ Market Sabji Bazar Road Venglai Lunglei near SP office phone number 7005049545 tuna chuan zan in ainon huna kan hlangai thlang nung beratan ikianga Christmas ti hla kan ngai thlanga lalun ki miral te in helai ron sa anga helaron thlang tu te chu ma moi lungnei zo tlang mi in banun ziri zol pui veng tabunga mi tan le ke zo than thlong ite nu pa zo tlang lunglei mi te tan ron thlangani bigong te website zo ami in VL thamwan pui khol sing kanan veng ma mwani fanai bai bakon ai zol vilrin pui tu na tlong tlai om mek le Mary Vil nun limi bachuam pui mi te langwai thla ka tan he la hi ron thlanga hun sang sanga achian te le a unaw te zong zong tan ti in engi tlang law lungne chan mari min ron thlang bokani ki kon than mual veng om zong zong te tan ma ba fana ki kon than mual veng min he la hi ron thlanga sente tan ne khozol veng thar min ron thlang boka edidorin moyan he la hi moi te ma wangin ti in jacob phairuang min ron thlang boka laldini wes bung tlang mi tan Diki West bung tlang min ron thangatin zon ki ma parvatui mi tan riaw riaw ti in zong mingen te parvatui min he lai ron thang bokani lalun ki miral te ikianga Christmas tin he lai hi dinga July in apuang tu tan le shalom RJ shalom mi tan riaw riaw ti in ron thang bokani
a her chuak le dum ta e kum tlai tuan kan Christmas lim ten zai tin vor du nang o kam ngai di nang ne ikiang a chuan lung lo makim ma le dang reng kan ngai lo nge pa seng kin kan ti chung zeli mong du nang o Christmas nang lalpian ni lo her chuak hi nang len kan kara mangai ina min shiat pui tu se thiang him takin mang du nang o ikiang a chuan lung lo makim ma leng nang reng kan ngai lo nge ma seng kim kan ti apia
zanin ainon hona kan hlangai thlang nom bere kya nga Christmas ti haran satu khalan kimeral te ani chuti zong chu zan ina sang sangin pui le Jomar digital ainon hun kan man the chu ni Akashvani Lunglei jang puan chu ani
All India Radio Lunglei choklei hun kan lo thleng le ta kan program ngai thatu ti chabai ule zanina hian tuiran chem ti tho kan yai thado na chumi ma in nganun sangi min hnolu su ti hlarun sang
Come on,
min no lul su ti lona satu kha ngai nun sangi ni ole zani na hian tuiran chem ti thokan ngai thadona aron sei tu tur hi ke ms zong lian zo tlang lunglei ni he thu hi program danga polo ti chhuat to ni a zani na hian karon ti chhuang non le don ani ngai thatu ten ngun takin lo ngai thla ila kan hlok pui ngai gan be sei ni lo ngai thla ang
ka sei tura thu pui min pek chu tuiren chem thu ni tlat mai trong kam ka man na chan chu ka ma chuak atana in me lo ria wa ka riat wangani sarkarin tuilam department a san pa lovin ania thok tu sang rual zet an oma ma se tuiren chem thu sei turin ke min han ruat le tlat si hi mak ka ti dewa ka in thiam chi alawani kong le lama tanga thlir chuan tui chu mi zong zong ma mo ani awangin du poina chung chang thu kan sei thianga kan sei po tul reng boka ti tran chanin voina hian tuiren chem chung chang hi nei tu chan chang takin ka sei don ani kan chen na khovel hi mun thuma thana mun khat chau khomwal abak mun thuma thana mun ni chu chu za zela samruk chuang zet tui ni reng si hi ren vak ngai om lo takania tin furu tui lo tla leimin le tui lianin min ti buina sathin zia le tui tla thi kum tin mizoram ngai po enge mozat kan deu zia lai hian khua lo thal meu chuan kan du tok kan mu lo awanga kan phun an na tong kam hi chu a department a thok te ngai thak se khop ani loi bok si a kan chen na khovel hi chu amak te khovel a mishing pung zel le mason na chi sang awanga kan mamo le nom sak na tur ta na kan du pung zel hian kan chen na khovel a hausak na te hi chin lem nei lawa man du na min siam na sa me ma chung leilung hausak na then khat te chu man zo tik lo man zo sen rual lo khopa siam tun aduan in siam thar le zel theite ani lain then khat ero chu siam thar le thei lo ani thung hei wang hian kan khovela hausak na ang te hiren chem le dai zai ta kaman kan in zirtir hi apoi mo em rengani nitin kan khosak na ta na kan mamo tamjok hi natural resources kan ti khuare leilung hausak na atanga siam emo lak chu emo ani deu vek mai hei azir bing mi te mu dan rin tlak tak ani awangin mithiam te chuan khovel leilung hausak na te hi mishing te hian ramsa te ang hian an mamo phurut tu atan chau hian mang thiam ta theu sela chuan kan khovel lu khat khop mishing mamo hi kumrei thak chung chu adai theni anti hiala leilung hausak na uluk le rem hre taka en kol tu pol natural resource management ngai dan phei chuan leilung hausak na man tlem ngor hi atumani lova leilung hausak na kan nei te tun ai da izai zok le ren chem zok amana chuan lo la zel dur te ta na ma kho su hi an ngai poimo mishing chiale thashia na neya ngai tu na fim bang tu te tan chuan thil ti om tak ani reng ani tui hiren chem ngai ni em tiemo tuiren chem tu hi india rama emo mizoram emo soi ngai ni em ti hi zo na thui de ul ka chan ngai ani ome khovel single sa in then dan fel tak le ruwa tui tlak dan kalmang thlir chuan mizoram churam van nei tak kan nia fur le thal classic le nipui in then fel thlapin hun bi kan chiara kum tin mu lok thei khuarel chu za thleng dik fam kim lo ma se kan ei zon na le akai noi thil dang po thel lutuk lovin kan la kalpui theya ruwa tui tlak tam deuh kumte khua thal rei deuh kumte khasik avo zual tumte chu ombok thin ma se kumpuiling le ta khosak ti buai rem rum khopa thil dang lam hi chu aum meulo hemi wang hian ru tui po kan dong tha thokata atlang pui thu in thal va ek cha lai po in tui har sat awanga thi na hialemo khothen omte pui ngai emo pheizong kan lom om love van nei tak kan ni amai ro chu heti reng lai hian ru tui tlak lai da khol na chang kan siat lo wangte sarkar malak na wanga mani in chunga tui her ho tur khopuya chuan kan nei deuh fur to wangte in tui man chin tok kan shelawa kan khosak thiam lo awangin tui kan ngei thut fo hlomin karing tin tui zem kan nei that tok lo awangin tui kan don turang voi ni khat kan don lo pal awang le ahun biruat ai ni khat leka tui kan mu lo chang te poin chung ko then khat chu kan tal buai ngal ti fo bok hei hi voina kan har sat mek ania khosak rel thiam lo awang te po ani anga hemiden chena tuiren chem thu sei chiam ro chu kan subject ina atum ani lo mai theye amara chu khovel pum kan thlir chuan global warming awang te factory lian pui awanga borok bol lo leng vel le salut ko wang te ramngo na sat taka kang me awang le thil dang awanga lo chereu chak te lu tu hian kan chen na khovela tui thiang lim in tur atitlem chak te lu tu hi voina kan thu pui soi tingai zual tu chu ani tu te le khabu emo tu pa soi mo po ani mi alo ke ma hria thei chin kum som li chung lek po hian tui na tlem sot zia hi mak takani kan no pan la kan tui tlan ber thin ni tin kan choi thin kha tu la chuan arim ra po om to lova kan fa tan he na tun ma chuan helai hen tui khura oma kan choi thina sin kan ti point mak an tia oi pon oi to lo hial ta veng sarkar tan puina in PH in tuilak na min buat sai sak tam tak bo thala chuan akang chat ve ta fo mai lungle tanga soi kan ni boka lungle dewin han soi taila lungle khopui chom tu lungle greater water supply scheme tuilak na Mizoram lui sei ber tlong lui me po thala chuan tui du to kalak tur pam tur om lo chang te po om fo mai heng te wang hian tuiren chem thu hi kan soi angai to le ani tin lunglei chau ani lawa TV le chanchin bu tang te in Mizoram tui har sana chung chang hi kan she fo to mai kum sang ni le som pathuma ser chip khopuin tui har san an to chung changa DC howa khotlang hroi tu tele sarkar ho tu tenan soi ho chung chang po tuiren chem chung chang Google han zon chuan langsar takin alo in ziak reng maya an tui pom na khol chiat thua PHE department chau ni lo PNE department lampoin mo an phur thu le tui pom na khol che siam tur an dap ko la sat je thu Kolkata le Pune thenga pat thanga tur an dap na sat je thu kan muwa aizola po PHE minister hova department how tu te tui niang nar taka kan man theina tur an in ron khom jin zia chu amu tu te le asha tu te vek kan yome Mizoram chau kan ni lo India ram pum he tuye wanga har sannain min tuam reng tila kan walu tuk ani karing lo India chimlama kawveri lui tui in chu thu boy hi mana tanga chanchin ngai nom tak alani renga Kanram capital Delhi apo water minister Kapil Misra po in Delhi khopu in tui har san an to chu tim maya sut kian chi ani lo wangin mi puite chu tuiren chem turin nikum lok po khan angen mol reng ti media kal tangin kan shelom ome hetiang tak hian tuiren chem hi khovel pum huap agenda tling ani awangin kumtin March nisom ni pani hi World Water Day atan man thinania India ram pum huwa point April ni som pali hi National Water Day tan man ani bok le tuiren chem dan kong thum kan soyang mithiam te chuan tuiren chem dan hi chi thumin lam nuam le hriat reng ol zong in an lo ngai tu chuak thlap maya angai tu chuak tu te hian sap tong an ngai tu wang le sap tong an lo phu ma saka wangin a sap tongin kan sei ma sa photanga chu du lian tongin kan chantir mai don nia asap tonga an soidan chuan TR pathum an tia TR an ti chan po athumal masaberzel hi horop R veka ain tan wang mai ni chung R pathum te chu reuse ti le recycle ti te an ni reduce chu ti tlem ti na nia reuse ti chu mang non ti na nia recycle ti chu man le thei tura siam non ti na ni tuna heng ar pathum te hi mizo tongin amal te in lo pot fan te pakhat na R1 chu reduce ani kan sei to angin reduce ti chu ti tlem ti na nia hei hian a sei tum chu kan ni tin khosak na ta na kan tui man reng ren chem taka man le kan man za le emo za te mo atlem te ang bera ti niam ani amma saberin pe chi atanga kan tui don hi a holai chuan a thei sham chuan vilila kan mo zat kan don vele her to wat thin ila a thale khopuya chuan in chunga du her ho thei turin tuidot tep kan nei loma kan man zin na ber chu kut sil mai phi le thleng sil ani ome hetiang huna hian kan kut le mai ti hu thei tok te her ho a sabon in noi chung chu ti topa atle huna po ful her ho hu lovin atle fai tur tok te in her hoila acha ome heingot po hi kan ti theyani ngat chuan ni khata kan tui man za chu liter thum emoli emo vel lain atla niam ngei na rin om tin thleng sil chung changa po anuai fai na tur sabon tui tam tak siam angai san lova atle fai lam kan uluk phot chuan tui tlem te na nuai fai thei vekani mi then khat chuan a sabon tui siam na tan ringot po cho tol thenin mai hun kan ti khat don te in tuyan da thina hei hian tui a he mai baka sabon emo sarf emo a he a hetianga kan thleng le no te kan silna tan po fim khur taka tui kan mangani phot chuan kar khat chu kan tui man chu na sat takin atlem sot ngayang R2 reuse ti chu mangnon ti na ni le mai hei hian a tum chu kan tui man to po aman tangkai theina dang aum chung chu dai zai theang bera man non tur ti na ni tun lai huna chon mi tam zokin in sugna tan washing machine kan mang to a khola tui kan han da kan thom na suk tur chu kan nuai ta a kan du to kan nuai tir nuwa thom no te chu la chuakin kutat le mai tur ani a kan nuai na tui kha pai mai lovin thom na dang nuai tir nan aman le thei ya aman tlak bokani chu tiang chuan a tira kan tui da kha voi thum po thom na nuai non ringot chuan aman thei em ani hetiang a tilawa thom no tum khata suk na na tui san zel man chuan voi khat in suka po thom no tam dan a zirin bucket nga te bucket duk te angaya a hek em ani hetiang tak hian chung tin te hian ti pe tavek ila chuan kan tui mani atlaniam le ang ti hi achiang ani tin pangpar chin kanin ti muwa hei hen tui amamo tam le ti chu kan shacheu ome hemi konga po hian tran kan lak chuan kan tui man nu te hi kan pangpar te tan tangkai takin kan siam the ni kan ei rong bol la kan chome thai sil na tele kan thleng sil na le in su na tui thiang lim deuh te pai mai lovin khol ze lila kan pangpar le thai te tan an that baka tuiren chem na kong thatak ni bokin alam R3 recycle ti chu kan thilman to siam thar le emo siam dang lam emo aman non le thin soina nia tunlai technology sang taka hian kol phetha mangle man ronang manga kan thilman to po pai bo ngal duak lova mangchang se taka man non le thei tura I buat sai non le thin soina nia hei hi chu hunin min dai to lo baka man rodang manga ti ngai ani de owangin tun tuma chuan kan sei zau thui lo mayang atlang kan kom don mayang leilung hausang na uluk le rem thet taka en kol tu pol natural resource management NRM lama mithiam pakhat chuan khovel hausak na hi mi ring te mo phu thei khop chu aum na me maya anduam na phu thei tur khop chuan atam tok lo watia hi pathian in leilung hausak na min pek tui amman na tur dik taka zanei le ren chem taka mang tura kan chang than pakhat ni theise acha om le mai tui ren chem taka man hi nam chang kang le ram ma son to te ti dan ani a chutiang ti na chang hria te chu mi chang kang ni na ani nga ye I tui man dan mangin mi chang kang ini zia lantiro kalome
kan ngai thak ta kha tuiran chem ti thoni aron sei tu kha ke amazon lian a zo tlang lunglei ni zai kan ngai thak chun zo manga la lom zo le khiang te in ka ngai ema che ti hlarun sa ang
anh thích quá mình tua em mô mê la rồi ấy đi at sa mê
kangai ema cheti hloron satu khala lom zali khyang te ni a ma phase ti hlalal thu tha anaron savele thungang
ten Milano Mapase Hardon mange Linten kan nuôi tun lại te Mangai bia dài nem ten Đam ten Milano Mapase Sweet lung Ti len zual men moi An ka Darang ton ni her le se Chim tui pui ral ka kai khen ni A cham ren chin ka thin la ya Ngil ruan lo ya ka nem te Mapase Darang Ton le ni tu Kado vel ni tui le Ilim Tha mai mo ka chan Ka ngai thiam ne mo Mapase Sweet lung Ti len zual men moi An ka Darang ton ni her le se Chim tui pui ral ka kai khen ni A cham ren chin ka thin la ya Ngil ruan lo ya ka nem te Mapase Cham ren chin ka thin la ya Ngil ruan lo ya ka nem te Mapase
Mapase ti hla ron sa tu khalal tu cha ani ole tu zong zan in chok le huna program ba sai kan ngai thak the chu lo ni le ta All India Radio lunglei changa puan chwani Hey Akashvani Lunglei ni zandar somle chan ve ni avu in December ni somni pan hi tho chan ni ta na kan hun voi ni na ha top ta naktu zingdar kan tu ka ta na kan hun voi khat na kan chan li ang engineering charge engineer zorin moya apong tu S7 panel pe ki ngai thatu te mang traffic kule jai hind